Hey guys, welcome back. In this lesson, we'll be setting up our React application so that we can start building our UI from the wireframes that we had created earlier. But before I do that, I really want to quickly show you what we'll be achieving by the end of this course and what your application will look like once you're done. So if we see here, we have an application called to-do list. This application has a list of task list over here and a list of tasks under each task list. So I have selected work, so it shows all the tasks under the task list. I can create a new list, a new task list by clicking this button, and when I click this button I am prompted to enter the name of the task list. So let's say we enter the name as office, and once I do that, you can see that I have the office list added over here. Now this task list is empty right now. The next thing I want to do is add a new task to it. When I click this button, it prompts me to add what the task should be. So I will enter create, or let's say complete presentation, and I'll add this task. As you can see over here, I'm able to add this task, and if I check or uncheck this task, it updates the status of the task. If I had, let's say, two tasks: complete making all the videos, and I will add this task, and you can see that it gets added over here. I can check or uncheck this task if I wanted to. So this is what your application is basically going to look like. We can change task lists, we can create a new task, we can create a new list. So this is the basic functionality that we'll be achieving at the end of this course. Now, to build a React application, we'll use a UI framework called Semantic UI, and it is an excellent framework to get started with because it provides you a lot of cool stuff out of the box, like pre-style buttons, a lot of cool React components that you can use, such as input boxes, modals, and everything. So you'd want to install this library before we get started. Now we want to set up a React application, and to set up a React application, we want to first move into the directory that we want to set up our application in. So we'll move into the desktop for this case. Now, if you would have followed the instructions in setting up your development environment, you would have installed what's called the Create React app, which comes in bundled with the new version of NPM, which is the Node Package Manager. So you don't really need to install that if you already have an updated version of NPM. And if you have installed the Create React app terminal application, what you need to do is you write Create React app and enter the name for this application. For this application, our name will be to-do list, and we'll just demarcate it as FE, which denotes front end. So I will press enter, and this will then run all the commands that are necessary to set up the React application. So we'll wait until all the commands are done. Alright, so the setup of this application has been completed, and it gives you quite a friendly list of commands that you can run to start working with your application. The first thing that we need to do is enter the application directory, which is to-do list FE. So we'll enter the application directory. Now that we're in this application directory, we will start coding. So the first thing we'd want to do after entering the application directory is just have a quick look at the files, and I'll explain them briefly. So if I run code space dot, it opens the Visual Studio Code editor in this directory. Now if you look at the file structure over here, there are a few things that we need to learn. The first thing is the node modules directory. Now this directory stores all the npm packages or the library that you install for your application to run. For example, we'll be using Semantic UI for this application, so whenever we install Semantic UI, its code will get added to this node modules directory. The next directory is the public directory, and the public directory keeps all the files that are required to render the React application. For example, the index.html file renders the React application in this ID called root. The next directory we're looking at is the source directory, and the source directory or the src directory is where all of your React files are stored, and all of the files that you create will need to be added over here. So we have a list of files that Create React app creates for us by default, and these files will be necessary to work with later on. The next file we will be looking at is the gitignore file, and the gitignore file does the simple function of adding a few files that are versioned manager needs to ignore, that Git for example needs to ignore. So it will not look for changes in these files, and these files will be independent of the version control manager. The next file is called the package.json file. Now the package.json file is the basic building block of any npm based application that you create, and as React runs over npm, this is also an npm based application, and package.json does a few simple things. It describes the name of the application, the version of the application, whether the application is private or not, and a few dependencies that our application might require. So right now, because I haven't installed any additional dependencies, it only shows a list of 3 dependencies, which is React, React DOM, and React scripts. When we install Semantic UI and a few other libraries, they will get added to this list. It also adds a few other things like scripts, ESLint config, browser list, and all of that. You don't have to worry about all of this yet, because these are more minor details and complicated stuffs that you really don't need to get worried about. The next thing is the readme.md file, which is basically the markdown file or the readme file that you see when you add this file to GitHub or any other Git posting website. This is a file that describes your repository. Create React app creates a pretty detailed readme.md already for you, but you can just delete all of this and change it according to what you need. And the last is the yarn.log file, which is basically a file that you don't want to mess with by yourself, and it is auto generated whenever you work with Yarn, which is basically a package manager to add or remove any dependencies that you need for this application. So that was for our tour of the directory that React app creates for us. The next thing we want to do is check whether our application is working fine or not, and to do that we'll just type in yarn space start, and as the earlier application is already running on port 3000, it will ask me to change the port, and I'll type in Y. This shouldn't happen for you because you don't have any other application running already, so I'll just type in yes, and it will open this application in localhost 3001 instead of 3000. Alright, so the application is loaded, and as you can see, we have this rotating React symbol and this text that is telling us to change app.js and save to reload. So we can see that our React application was created and it's working just fine. Just to check whether our live reload is working, we'll just change a bit of the code in our app.js file. So if we'll find the app.js file in the source directory, and in the app.js file I will remove everything that is contained in this div, the app div, and I will add a p tag. This is my first React application, and I will hit save, and as you can see, the page reloads automatically and it shows this is my first React application. So we are sure that our React application is working just fine in development mode. Alright, so when you've confirmed that your application is working, the next thing you'd want to do is to add the Semantic UI package in React, and to do that you'll open up the documentation which lies on this link and click on the usage tab. Once you click on the usage tab, they tell you a way to add Semantic UI React to your React application, and to do that you run this command. And to run this command, I'll head over to my terminal application and type in yarn add Semantic UI React. Once this package is installed, the JavaScript functionality that Semantic UI React provides has been added to your React application. The next thing you want to do is add the default styles that Semantic UI provides. To do that, we need to link the CSS file to our application. There are 2 ways of doing it as detailed in their documentation. The first way is to add a link tag to your index.html file, and the other is add the Semantic UI CSS package. Now I prefer the link tag because the only thing that we won't be able to do if we use the link tag is use custom themes, and for this application we don't require custom themes, so we can use link tag as it will load faster and it won't add a new directory to our node modules directory in the application. So to add the CSS file, we'll just copy this link tag, open index.html, and in that there is a link tag for manifest file. To add a new link tag, just enter a new and paste the link we have just copied. When you press save, your application should reload, and you can see that there's a bit of normalization added to your application and it looks just tiny bit different. To make sure that Semantic UI React is imported correctly, we'll import a component from Semantic UI React. The easiest component to work with is the button, so we will import button inside curly braces from Semantic UI React. We'll hit save, and then the application should reload, and the application reloads without a problem. So that means we were successfully able to import the button from Semantic UI React. So let's display that button that we have just imported. To do that, we create a new HTML tag which represents the component we have just imported, which is the button with a capital B, and in that we will type in new button or whatever you want to type. This is just to check whether Semantic UI is working. And to check whether the styling is working, we will add a new property to the button called color, and in the color property we'll add in teal. Good color, you can choose whatever color you want. Just make sure that it is included in the list of colors that it provides you. So I will add in the teal color and hit save, and this should reload our application with a teal colored button. Now that this button is added to our screen, it means that the Semantic UI import is working correctly. So that's it for this lesson. We have successfully set up a React application, added a new package to this React application, and checked whether this application was working, and checked whether the import was successful. In the next video, we will create the UI of our application from the wireframe that we had discussed before. So see you in the next lesson.